What's going on, y'all? Jordan, another episode of Lightning Latest. 5 wins in a row. Let's get it. Trying to get 6, though. So we're going to talk about the Avalanche game tonight. We're also talking about a couple bolts, Vasi and Diastus. Both have been playing well so far, so I figured we'd give them some flowers. You know, they definitely deserve the flowers. Going to cap off with a what if as well, featuring an Avalanche player. As y'all know the drill. But yeah, we're heating up now. After that really rough 1-4-2 start to start the season, now it's looking better. Looking way better. 6-4-2 now. We're entering the second game of a 3-game road trip. We won the last 5, right? Including the 4-2 win over Utah. In Salt Lake City over the Mammoth on Sunday afternoon. JoJo started that game for us, but look for I'd be surprised. Actually, I can't even say I'd be surprised to see him start again against the Avalanche, but I believe it's going to be Vasi. JoJo captured his third win of the season when they beat the Mammoth. Played a great game. Now it's Vasi's turn because we're going to talk about Vasi a little more in a bit. But he's starting to heat up, and that's exactly what we want to see. During the current win streak, the Bolts have absolutely barraged the opponent's nets with shots, left and right. They had 26 shots against Utah on Sunday, so we'll take that all day, right? We said at the beginning of the season one of the biggest issues offensively is the fact simply they weren't shooting. They weren't getting good looks to shoot, and they weren't shooting. Now they're shooting. As the saying goes, shoot or shoot. Well, we're shooting now, and this is what happens, right? Same concept with baseball. If you put the ball in play, good things are going to happen more than likely than not. Well, shooting towards the goal. Most of the time you'll get stopped, but sometimes, some of those will squeak in. That's what we've been seeing for the Bolts these last few games, especially with a lot of these offensive players starting to heat up with Anthony Cirelli, Brandon Hagel. We're finally starting to see this team look like the team it's supposed to be. And it's going to need to look that way against the Avalanche. Here's the deal. The Avalanche, 7-1-5 right now. It's technically, 6 losses, but 5 of those in OT. So, this team knows how to win, and it's kind of been apparent the last few years, especially. This could be another potential Stanley Cup preview. Remember, we played it a few years ago. We did lose, unfortunately. No one likes talking about that one, but here nor there. They do lead the Central Division, like I said. Winnipeg's right behind them, though. They're only point back. So, this is a rematch for both teams from the Stanley Cup a few years ago. Colorado, they have 5 players with 10-plus points right now, including star center Nathan MacKinnon with 19. Cal McCarr is very close with 18. He's right behind him. Martin Necas has 17 as well. He just signed a new long-term deal with them. Arturi Lehkonen and Victor Olofsson, a former What If Bolts guy, actually. Remember, I talked about him a couple months ago. They have 12 and 10, respectively. So Olofsson was a nice late pickup for them as well. Anthony Cirelli's heating up, though. Gunsel's starting to heat up. Hagel's starting to find the net. All of these offensive players are really starting to kind of hit their groove and find what they need in order to hit that next level. Well, we're seeing it now. So a win in Colorado would push the win streak to 6 in a row. And that's what we want to see. And it's going to increase the pressure on the current teams ahead of us in the division, Montreal and Detroit. Here's the thing, too. It's kind of wild. Every single team in the Eastern Conference right now is over 500. Every single team. Including the ones that are the worst. Like the Panthers are down there. They have 13 points. But, that's what I'm saying. Every team over 500. If that doesn't show you how deep this conference can be and why we need to stay on top of our game, especially against a team like Colorado, I don't know what does. So, we get this dub, improve to 7-4-2. We'll keep marching because right now we are, 12 games in. We have 70 games left. We need to continue to show that we are valid Stanley Cup contenders like we have the last few days. There's still plenty of flaws, but hey, winning teams overcome those and win. That's what we've been doing lately. Speaking of flaws, well, not a flaw no more again. Vasi. Vasi's really starting to get back to that form we've seen so many times over the years. Just the form we've come to expect from him by now. Bulls number one goalie is really starting to lock in after those early season struggles. Remember, right? He allowed the 16 combined goals in that first and 2 periods against the Panthers in the preseason finale. He allowed 6 goals, and then he allowed 5 each in both of the season opening losses to the Senators and Devils. it was clear he was rusty. It was clear the injury-related layoff over the summer really kind of pushed him back a little bit. Yeah, he's played in a lot of games over the last few years, especially because we've consistently made run after run after run. Honestly, the last couple of years. But, from the injury he was dealing with, which we still don't really know too much about, to missing that time, now it's clear that Vasi's really starting to lock in. And he's played his best hockey during the Bolts' current 5-game winning streak. Okay, winning his last 3 starts after dropping his first 5 of the season. Against the Stars in the 2-1 win on October 30th, he saved 20 shots with a goal GAA of .96 and a .952 save percentage. That's what we want to see out of our guy. The Big Cat is really starting to heat up. He's starting to play like the goalie we've seen year in and year out, and that's what we want to continue to see. He did struggle last year as the season progressed, so that's the question is, should Johansson get more nods this year? Should he play more? Remember, he's played in 60-plus games 3 of the last 4 years, not to mention the postseason. Vasi needs a little bit of a breather. And JoJo's already 3-1-0. He's playing great hockey. He's starting to show that maybe my calls for a second goalie were not needed, but hey, that's what we want, right? We want to see these players continue to improve and get better. So that is ultimately and always the goal in general. With the rest of the season and 2 more left on Vasi's current deal, it's clear the Bolts would love for him to be here the rest of his career. Most franchises want their star players there the entirety of their career. If he can continue to work back into that elite form we've seen basically throughout his entire career, right? I think we're going to be okay. We really have a better shot at getting a Stanley Cup when Vasi's fully locked in and ready to roll. And it seems like he's fully locked in and ready to roll. He's starting to get there. So if that continues, we love to see it. And we're hoping that continues against the Avs. Meanwhile, another guy that's starting off pretty hot, he's actually playing well, is Chuck. Charles Diaz-Deuce. Since being called up from Syracuse on October 20th, the 27-year-old is making the most of his very first stint in the NHL. He did make his debut in the 4-3 win over the Ducks on the 25th, and he started all 5 games during the team's current win streak. He's playing smart, tough hockey. He's playing the type of hockey, the exact type of hockey you want to see from most of our defensemen, right? And, y'all know how I feel about Lilleberg and Darren Radish, so my hope is once Crozier comes back, because Crozier's been out since the overtime loss to the Capitals on October 14th. He's getting closer. Hopefully when he comes back, the third pairing is Diaz-Deuce and Crozier. That's what I'm really, really hoping it's going to be. He is playing with Lilleberg right now on the third line. Teaming up with Crozier, I think, would make us better and stronger. That means Lilleberg's on the lineup. But, we'll see what happens because, we still don't have a full lockdown on what's going on with Crozier. And Diaz-Deuce is doing the best he can. He's doing pretty good. In 5 games, he has an average time on ice of 14 minutes and 37 seconds, +1, ±. He notched his first NHL goal in the win over Nashville, the 5-2 win, on the 28th. And then he followed up 2 nights later with the assist against the Stars in the 2-1 win. So, he's really starting to find his own. Remember, we talked about him a couple weeks ago, right? We profiled him. We discussed what he's talked about Benjamin Pierce on the Bolts team, Bolts team site. And, Diaz-Deuce really sees himself as an all-around rounded player. If that's the case, I think we need to keep him up. I mean, in the win over Nashville, he did have a career-high 17 minutes and 11 seconds time on ice. So the big question is this. When Crozier comes back, does Coop put him and Diaz-Deuce on the line? Or does he go back to Lilleberg and have Lilleberg and Crozier? Y'all know how I feel about Lilleberg. I think it's time he needs to go. But I'm not the coach of the Tampa Bay Lightning, unfortunately. So, there is another way, of course, we could improve the defense. Y'all are going to look at me like, whoa, what the heck? But what if Cale Makar? That's right. I said it. Arguably the best NHL defenseman today. He is actually slated to be an unrestricted free agent next offseason. Now, remember, the Avalanche just re-signed Nekas to, or is it Nisas? I'll have to look that up and get back to y'all. They just resigned him to a long-term extension. You'd think Makar would be next. However, here's the deal. We all know the cap's exploding over the next few years. We know a lot of these long-term deals are starting to get more and more expensive. And Makar is certainly, I'm not going to say certainly, I believe he is the top NHL defenseman. But
Some people might see other ones, some other players like Adam Fox and the Rangers, for example, as better. I think it's Kel McCarr. He was the 2017 fourth overall pick by the Avs. He's become the player that they probably hoped they were going to get, and more with that pick. He's a two-time Norris Trophy winner, so he won in 2022, and then he also won last season. McCarr has a really impressive list of accolades for only being 27. In 2019-2020, he won the Calder Trophy and was on the NHL All-Rookie team. The next season, he was NHL First All-Star Team. In 2022, he was also First All-Star Team. He went to the All-Star Game, won the Conn Smythe, and won the Stanley Cup over the Bolts. 2023 and 2024, he was the second All-Star Team, and went to the All-Star Game as well both years. 2024 was cool, though, as he was the NHL Cover Athlete. And last year, first All-Star Team again, Norris Trophy winner. It's clear the kid knows how to play the game. And he is a high-scoring defenseman. So, based on the Avs' hot start, it's likely there's almost no scenario in which we could trade for him. However, here's the thing. If the two sides can't work out a contract extension, if he doesn't sign an extension with Colorado by the deadline, there is a possibility they could trade him. It depends on the package. It would certainly be literally the definition of a king's ransom. We would have to pay so much, plus obviously ink McCarr to an extension, because what would be the point of trading for him and giving up all that if we're not going to ink him to an extension? So would a king's ransom offer sway them into trading him? That's entirely possible. I would not be surprised if that did happen. Do I think it's going to happen? Almost certainly not. However, let's just say I think Kel McCarr would look great in Bolt Blue. He has never played an 82-game schedule. In fact, last season's 80 games were the most he's ever played. He did score 92 points in those 80 games, though. 30 goals, 62 assists, plus-minus a plus 28. And an average last year, 25 minutes and 42 seconds on the ice. He's an Iron Man. When he is healthy and he's in, he's playing easily over 20 minutes a night. So far this season, he's played in all 13 games as well. 18 points, or second on the team behind McKinnon, like I talked about earlier. 4 goals and 14 assists with a plus 12 plus-minus and almost 25 and a half minutes per game. So it's clear, right? We trade for Kel McCarr. He's going on the top pairing with Victor Hedman, and we're going for it all, baby. Although, Kel McCarr, JJ Moser, don't set with a good time. Yeah, trading him for him obviously would be very, very expensive, and we'd have to ink him to an extension that would be even more expensive. So, however, this is why we do what if, because in actuality, there is a slim possibility, that we could trade for him. He could be on the trade block, especially if a number of factors happen. So, we love to dream about it. Tomorrow, we're going to recap the Bolts Avalanche game. Hopefully, Kel McCarr doesn't kill us. We can keep him in check. We're also going to talk about a couple other items as well, like the front office and a what if. So, yeah, busy day. Rest of the week. 72 games left. Let's get it, y'all. Let's get that 6 win in a row over the Avs tonight. I'm really stoked. Can't wait to watch along. This is Jordan with Lightning Latest signing off, and I'll see y'all tomorrow. Have a good one.